Hey, we're live on Brunch with Brian, your home investing live stream. So remember, we all know that our KPIs, our key performance indicators for success in real estate investing, starts with our phone calls. And that's really sort of the core of the core of the business, the basic foundation of your business is it's a phone business, and getting on the phone will make things happen in your business, or not getting on the phone, vice versa, will keep things from happening. So the more you get on the phone, the more stuff happens. I mean, I don't even care if you're talking to a referral source or if you're, doing other things. We have a whole system. I don't talk about this very much, but we have a whole system on building up a referral network, including letters and everything that you send out to local moving companies and all kinds of, there's about 36 companies in your area, types of companies that are related to real estate that could actually be sending you leads. So there's a whole referral network so if you're calling people like a moving company, or if you're calling, referral people, or if you're calling real estate agents, or if you're calling sellers or buyers, you're on the phone and you're moving your business forward. Plus you're getting better. The more you're on the phone, just inevitably, the better you're going to get at it, the more comfortable you're going to get at it, the less, anxiety producing it's going to be. So just that one KPI. And sometimes, I've seen other KPIs where, there's a lot of mailers and everything else in there with those KPIs, which is great, which is fine. But I don't even want to complicate it to that degree, because I know if the calls are happening, the other stuff is happening. Otherwise, how are you finding the people to call? So something is happening where you're finding people to call, and that's it. That is one of the advantages of the way we approach the business. You can generate business without marketing. You don't have to send out a bunch of letters and wait for people to call. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a great technique and strategy, and that will lead to deals. So I do want you to market. And I'd love it if you're spending like $1,000 a month on marketing. That would be very encouraging to me, because it shows me you're serious. And that's going to lead, if you're doing it wisely, that will definitely lead to deals. So if you are ready to spend some money on marketing, and your social media isn't set up right, you should start with getting your social media set up. And remember, we have a whole system on social media marketing, and we'll give you a special deal on that. It's normally $9.97. If you ask nice, I'll do it for $4.97. All right. If you call the office 888-RICH now and ask about that system today, tell them I said it was $4.97 over this weekend. All right, for the social media marketing. So I want you to do some kind of marketing. Think about your marketing, whether you're developing referral sources, doing a lot of stuff on social media, whatever, Facebook groups, meetup groups, whatever you're doing there. It all comes down to making those phone calls. So again, 20 calls a week. And I think you should start on Monday. And what I want you to do is let me know on Monday of the next week whether you made your 20 calls. So I'm going to try to start holding you guys accountable on Mondays. Monday is accountability day. So on Monday, I'm going to ask who made their 20 calls this week. Again, I want you to actually talk to a human being. Calling and leaving a message or texting somebody doesn't count. So actually physically talking to somebody, that ensures that you're getting better. Every time you talk to somebody on the phone, you should be getting better. You should be taking notes. Now, here's another thing I want to talk about this weekend. I want you to focus on this weekend. I want you to take notes about your life this weekend. All right. This is my task. Now, try to make it to 20 calls. If you're only at 2 calls so far right now and it's Friday, you got 18 calls to make between now and, Sunday night. So you can sit and you can have one calling session. You can make 20 calls in one sitting, like on a Saturday or something, or maybe make 10 calls and then take a break and then make 10 more calls. So it's possible to do it all in one day. It's probably easier to spread out those 20 calls, and it's very possible to do a lot more than 20 calls. So remember, the main 5 calls that you can always make just by sitting down and looking up Zillow leads is you can always call FSBOs, And if you run out of them in your area, that's why I want you targeting other cities. And we have a whole system called Deals at a Distance, where we teach you how to buy and sell houses, in other markets. And so we've got, I want you to be targeting FSBOs and then listing realtors, off-market properties. I mean, that's like a driving for dollars situation. If you see an ugly vacant house, you backtrack, find out who the owner is. Sometimes you can just do that on the white pages, believe it or not. You can do a reverse lookup on the white pages and call, and there's a lead for you. Or else landlords. And then sometimes when you're calling landlords, property managers will pick up. So those are all people you can talk to. You could sit and call a bunch of property managers. You could purposely target property managers. But usually if you're calling enough landlords, you're going to talk to a lot of property managers, and you're going to talk to the kind of property managers that are managing the kind of properties that you're interested in, because you're targeting houses in a certain market that rent for a certain amount, that have that 1% rule. Don't forget that 1% rule. That's a big, I think about it all the time. I mean, whenever I look at another deal, I am always kind of automatically clicking that 1% rule in my head. Now that only works when the houses are under 200,000 pretty much. And the way that works again is rent equals 1% of value. That's a simple formula, 1% or more, 1% plus. So on a $120,000 house, that's $1,200 a month. 1% of 120,000 is 1,200, and so that's what you want to get for rent per month. If that theory or if that formula holds out in that for that house that you're considering, then it's probably going to cash flow. Remember, we're targeting $300 to $500 positive cash flow per month per house. So that's obviously, we focus a lot on the rental and rent to own properties. It's a big part of our market and what we focus on, in not necessarily, like I said, where we are located, because there's where we live, you don't find a lot of properties in that $80,000 to $150,000 price range that are not really nice, and a lot of people want to live there. So again, that it's kind of dependent on where you live. All right, so the big points of today are, I want you to devote yourself to making those 20 calls a week, and on Mondays we're going to hold everybody accountable, and I'm going to ask for, hey, did you make your 20 calls? And I want you to chime in if you did it. All right, then the other thing, and so that obviously requires you to keep track of your calls. Don't forget, we have in your forms folder, in your what to say and what to do system, where you should have a code where you can go on the website, on the ourwolfpack.com members site, put your code in there, go to the forms folder, and pull out the 50 closing calls checklist. 50 closing calls checklist. And it's just a chart, and you can check them off as you go. You can take little notes in the boxes if you want. I like to see notes in the boxes. So when our acquisitionist gives me that sheet that they got through another 50 calls, I like little notes in there, like, what time it was, what notes about the deal. Maybe it was a subject to deal, or this, or whatever kind of deal it was. I like notes. So the 50 closing calls checklist has boxes. They're not huge. So if you wanted to print up one like that with 20 boxes on one big page, that'd be great. Just make a chart on Microsoft Word or whatever, or just get something, that has 4 rows and 5, 4 across and 5 down. And that's your 20 closing calls checklist. Now I just said I have to make a new chart. Okay, now I'm going to make that, and I'm going to add it to your forms folder today. Okay, I'm going to make a new 20 call checklist and put it in your forms folder for your what to say. Whenever I think of something like that, I always think, oh, if they're going to have to do it, I just should do it for them. So you really need to look in that forms folder, because I've done that on a ton of things. Like, how about your power team or your dream team? Do you know who should be on your dream team? I have one form in there that says your whole dream team, everybody that you need to have a relationship work with, and what you ask them when you're trying to qualify them, and what tasks they accomplish for you. So there's so much good forms in there. So check that out. Make sure you're using those great forms. Every time I found a little hole in the business or something that we could do better or faster, I'd create a form. So I will create that new form, 20 closing calls checklist. Now it doesn't, I should just say a 20 calls checklist, because I'm not going to require that this be closing calls. It just any kind of call that you're making where you're talking to a human being, literally, that's all I'm looking for. Real estate related, okay. So again, 20, and if you're talking to wholesalers and flippers, that's a very worthy use of your time. If you're talking to other investors and you're saying, I do these certain kind of deals, and sometimes we can work with people who want more money for their house. So what do you do with your turn downs? I know you're looking for distressed properties, and sometimes people's houses are in too good condition, they want too much money, so you're obviously not going to do that deal. Sometimes we have strategies that we can work with folks like that. What are you doing with those that you're turning down? If I call them, I'll tell you what, if I call and I do a deal on any of those, I'll give you, if we make some kind of a profit, I'll give you anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 if I close that deal. And this is a lead that you're just not using and throwing away right now. So that's your approach to a wholesaler or a flipper who are just focused on distressed properties. So again, that's a worthy call. If you're talking to a flipper or a wholesaler, that might be the best call of your day. That might be a lot better than talking to one individual seller, because that might lead to many deals. So lots of ways to make your calls. Let's shoot for 20 calls a week. I'm going to have accountability Monday, where people say, yes, I made my 20 calls. The other thing is, I want you to, and I don't want to pile on here, okay, but this is a thought I had that would be I've done this before, and I'm going to do it this weekend. It's a time management tool. I want you to write out, if you can, and just, you don't have to be slavishly writing every minute of your day, but sort of keep track of what you do from like now until Sunday night. Just write out your schedule. Now, maybe you have kind of a pretty structured schedule that you follow and you're pretty faithful to it. So when you look at your schedule that you wrote this morning, that's pretty much how you spend your day. I would be impressed if that was true. That takes time discipline. It takes focus, I actually write out a schedule and pretty much stick to the schedule. Others of you have a pretty rigid schedule, like you have to be somewhere at a certain time, you have to be there through until this time, and then you got to go get the kids, and then you got to get home for dinner, and then you got to put the kids to bed. So some of you guys have a pretty rigid, there isn't a lot of free time in your schedule, and so pretty much what you're doing all the time. Now, if you are, but then I just want you to be aware of how your free time is being used. So if you can take some notes, and this is just and especially on the weekends where you tend to have a little bit more free time, just kind of monitor how you're spending your time this weekend. Where's the time going? You could start tomorrow morning if you want, but maybe today too, incorporate today, and just write down more or less kind of what you're doing. And just keep track of it on a day planner, or our today forms are always useful for this, or, any kind of just write it on a piece of paper, what you're doing. So from 8 to 9, you were doing this. From 9 to 10:30, you were doing this. And you can be a little bit more granular if you want. You can say, for this 10 minutes, I was doing this. Can be a very eye-opening exercise. I'm working on a time management psych up. So, I'm working on this psych up system where you can get psyched up for, anything. And there's one called My Precious Time. So I want you to be listening to this time management psych up, and this is a useful exercise. So, okay, that was a lot. I kind of went long. All right, I had a lot to talk about there. So it's great to see everybody. Hey, Tony's always here. Great to see you, Tony. Good morning. You love making closing calls. There you go. What a good affirmation that is. Ken, good to see you again today and yesterday. So good to see you guys. David from LaPorte, Texas. Yes, you always give us a shout out for Texas. Don't mess with Texas. Robert, nice to see you this morning. Okay, so yes, I know that Tony was talking about yesterday how he's using that he actually blew it up and put it on the wall. So that's really good, guys, if you can have some kind of a chart posted on the wall. Okay, thank you, Robert. Yes, you guys have a great weekend as well. Good morning, Linda. Great to see you here. So everybody, let's do this. Let's see if we can make our 20 calls in a week. And then I'm going to ask you guys to chime in on Monday. Did I make my 20 calls? Okay, and maybe I'll even have prizes for you guys or something, but this is a really good way that I can help you be accountable. And that's the number one KPI is your calls. And then this on Monday too, see if you have, and again, you don't have to have some super detailed list of what you did this weekend, but just overall being kind of more aware of it, because sometimes you know, an hour will go by and you'll go, now what did I get done the last hour? And you realize not much sometimes. So it just keeps you a little bit more aware of your time usage. So that's just we'll talk about that on Monday as well. All right. So I keep track of my time. No, I use my time wisely. No, I make my calls. Okay, let's just say I make my calls, since we're talking about that a lot. I make my calls. That's our affirmation for today. I make my calls. Ready? Always 3 times on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I make my calls. I make my calls. I make my calls. Yes. And always with a smile, with a little bit of energy and enthusiasm. Let's do our deep breathing. Nice deep breath in. Always a big smile. It feels so good. Another deep breath in. That's why we do this every morning. And I hope this is just one of the times you do this, because it's really good for you several times during the day. It cleanses your lymph system. Again, you know, I can't help but smile when I take a nice deep breath like that. It makes me feel good. So let it out, relax your shoulder and your neck. All right, great job. So I will see you guys back on Monday for accountability time. That'll be fun. And so have a great weekend. Focus up. See if you can get some great calls made. Great to see you, Charles. Just finished your workout. Good job. See, now that's taken care of. That's wise time usage, because keeping your body in shape will keep you much happier, much longer. I want to be in good shape when I'm 90. I'm still hoping I make it to 100. So using that would be a good one. Now, so when you're tracking your time this weekend, make sure there's a couple of times in there where you're getting some exercise, at least walking or something. Weekends are good to get some kind of exercise. Find something you really love to do, like how much Lynette and I love pickleball, especially Lynette. She is just in love with pickleball. That girl plays pickleball like 2 times a day. So, all right, great. Have a great weekend, guys. And I will see you back here on Monday. Until then, keep expecting success, getting awesome training, and